Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together in welcoming distinguished Toastmaster Ravindran Subramaniam as the moderator. The floor is yours.
First question I like to ask the panelists is, let it be anyone to respond. What's the difference between a club coach and a club mentor? And when might a Toastmasters club need them? Anyone, please?
Thank you so much, Raven. May I answer the question?
Please.
On behalf of my friends, Eliza and Percy. All right. So this is the basic understanding. We need to distinguish between club coach and club mentor, and when the time that we actually need, there's two different roles. So basically, the club mentor is needed when you first chartered a new club. When you chartered a new club, there are certain forms, chartering forms in form number 1 that you need to fill out the club mentor. It can be 1 or 2 club mentors. It depends on the needs. And you need to basically serve within certain term. For instance, if your club is basically conducting in regular basis, like every week, so as a club mentor, you basically need to mentor the club for minimum 6 months. But if your club is going to be conducted every 2 weeks, then as a club mentor, you need to serve minimum 1 year or 12 months. So that's the club mentor. While the club coach is basically you're assisting as well the clubs, but the club which is not in a good standing. Having said that, club is not a good standing, meaning that you have the minimum, you don't meet the minimum numbers of the club, which is normally under 8. But nowadays, you can actually being a club coach with clubs between 3 to 12 members. But back then, I remember probably Raven also experienced that club under 8 need to have the club coach. And the club coach itself is needed to be appointed by the district. So our district, in this case, the program call director, need to submit the form. There is an agreement and the form need to be completed by the certain person who's going to be appointed. And it should be submitted to the ward headquarters. Why you need to submit it to the ward headquarters? Because of the credit shall be given to the club coach when he or she successfully maintain the club from 0 to hero. In this case, the club shall obtain or reach the status of distinguished. Then in that case, you are a successful club coach, and that you can basically use either the club mentor or club coach towards the distinguished Toastmasters program. So basically that's the idea between the club mentor for the new club and the club coach for club who is struggling. That's my idea, Raven. Probably my friends would like to add some more, Eliza or Percy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Region 9 Advisor Silva Bose, for explaining the difference between a club coach and a mentor.
Thanks, Raven. I think the first thing you've got to do as the coach, I presume you're asking, right? As a coach, how do you elevate and rebuild? I think you've got to give yourself an opportunity to talk with members, maybe even talk with past members. Well, why aren't you still part of the club? You know, oftentimes they'll tell you, well, I don't like this, I didn't like that, it's not what I started out doing. Or they might simply say, I moved out of town, so forth and so on. And then sitting in on a meeting or two and taking notes. And that kind of making sure that you understand where they were and how did they get to where they are today will then inform you of how to move forward. No use jumping into the deep end of the pond just to have to recreate the wheels that they created a long time ago. So it's important to know, okay, what did we used to have? Why did this happen? Because maybe there was a major split, you know, and then understand, okay, what have you tried so far? And what's the vision for it moving forward? I've talked to some people. These are the things they've said. Would you consider? Now look at things that you can consider changing, tweaking, adding, subtracting, and then move forward with it from there.
Thank you, Percy, for sharing your pointers on this important aspect of rebuilding the club's culture. It starts from there. Perhaps, Eliza, you may have something to add on this.
Yeah, I also agree with Percy. When to bring up the light from the club that really already stagnant for so long, we need to find, maybe go back to the reflection. What happened to the club? Talking to all the members, then try to find the spark again. What are you doing here? What is actually you want to achieve? Then try to create something fun again, because maybe the heart is already died. You can create something to make them feel excited again about the club. Yeah, so I agree with Percy. There is a lot of things that we can do actually, but whatever it is, number one is we need to take care of the members, make sure that members feel that they are really important and they are matters. When they feel that, and when the club coach come, they know that we are there to help them, to create something to help them, not only for the club to survive, because many people always think that club coach come is because of the district one, not the club not to close. And when they come to that idea, they will just say that actually you just come to use us for something of benefit. But we as a club coach, we need to tell them that we are here not for us, but we want to help all of you. We want to help the members to create something for all of you. So work together. Yep.
I totally agree with what my friends already mentioned, Raven. So I think the first thing first is that you need to do the research first. Why the reason, the root cause. And then from that, when you already analyze the situations, you identifying the solutions, you identifying the reasons and the problems, the issues or concerns, and then you come up with the solution. Because, we need basically to go to the basics to find why you first joined Toastmasters back then. And I'm telling everyone here that basically it's normal in our Toastmasters life. Sometimes we feel that a little bit, the excitement when we first joined Toastmasters was not there. It's just like our relationship or our marriage life. Every 5 years, we normally have some ups and downs. It's normal. So basically, that's what the club coach is needed at this time. And I totally echoing what Liza mentioned, that members should be our main focus in this case. So yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Silva. You mentioned take time to analyze. Can I raise a follow-up question on this? How long do you think the coach should spend time analyzing? Because we are caught between two worlds. Of course, the coach is given up to 2 years to achieve, and then it's of course not achieved, you're carrying you for another 2 years. But by and large, most coaches would like to finish it as soon as possible and move on. And let's be realistic about it. There are many other things one needs to do. So we want to do it. How long do you think one should spend just on analyzing?
Mm-hmm. So in terms of analyzing, there are several things that we can do, Raven. Definitely talk to the members, or the past members can be one of the options, or you do the survey. That would be another option, or you basically can analyze from the trend of the clubs for the past, let's say 3 years. Then you can know actually what's the lack of this club, what's actually happening. Is it because of the location probably, or the different leadership style of the club officers that currently leading the club? We never know, because every club is different and unique. So to me, I think one month, I think it's enough to analyze the club. And then you come up with the solutions, and you always have the backup, plan, like solution A, B, or C. If A is not working, then go for B and C.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Toastmasters has quite a number of tools available for coaches and club exco members to use, one of which is the moments of truth. The Moments of Truth is a very nicely graduated document. You can check it off in which area and find out which area needs focus. So there are tools available. I asked this question specifically because I hit the wall when I was assigned to coach one club. It didn't work out. So whether I spend enough time analyzing, I don't know. It's a subjective thing, very, very subjective, because we think, oh, we got the answer, and we go in, and then we find, no, they are not ready. So now what I've learned is go as slow as possible. So that's the reason why I'm following up on this. Okay, moving on. Next question. Yes, sir. Percy, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There was something that you said that I'd like to mention. You talked about the analysis and how long it takes, and then then you move on. The analysis must continue. The analysis is continuous, so that there's analysis and then and then try something and then feedback and then further analysis, and that's a continuous cycle of improvement that in some ways should start to become part of the culture of the club. They must always continually analyze, how are we doing, so that it doesn't fall back. And maybe they even go into something new. Because I think sometimes when you see a club fall or fail, you think, okay, let's just get it back where it was. Well, maybe where it was isn't necessarily where it's even possible to go. Let's take a corporate club. The company was paying for all their dues, and then now that they stopped paying, the company has dipped. Well, I don't think you're going to get back to the point where the corporation's paying for the dues, but maybe we'll come up with something better. Maybe it evolves, right? We've gone from You've gone from caterpillar to butterfly, and now you're asking yourself, what's beyond butterflies? We don't know, but wouldn't it be cool to find out? So that analysis must always continue, so that instead of just looking backwards, now we're looking forwards. Thanks, Robin.
Thanks, Percy, for adding on. That's a real nugget of gold there, because this review is a continuous review. It's a loop. That's why in Toastmasters, for the club coach, within 13 days of taking over the assignment, you submit a report through the district director to world headquarters on your review of the club and where you've achieved. And every 2 months, you submit a review report, which goes and ties in exactly with what you are saying. It dovetails, because that is the review process that's in place. So it has been formalized for many reasons, one of which is situations change. What worked 2 months ago may not necessarily work now. So new clubs may have opened up somewhere in the adjacent area. It will affect your membership. So it's a continuous loop. Thanks, Percy, for the excellent point. I appreciate that. What are 3 things you recommend a new club coach should focus on in getting ahead in their assignment? This is on the club coach. What are 3 things you recommend a new club coach should focus on in getting ahead in their assignment? Anyone? Yes, Percy.
To start with, they should focus on relationship. And then after that, they need to continuously focus on relationship. And then after that, they should keep rebuilding those relationships. Those 3 things.
Yes. Anybody else want to chip in on this?
Yeah, thank you. I want to add, I agree with firstly that first we need to build the relationship with the members of the club. And the second thing, the club coach need to diagnose the real problem, why actually this club facing the decreasing of the numbers, or why they from butterfly go back to caterpillar or something like that. So we need to know what is the real problem, what they really help that they need, because we cannot help them if we really don't know what is actually the problem. Just say like, if the club, many of the members is moving abroad or something like that, That's why the club is getting lower in membership. That's another treatment that we need to do with the club. Maybe we need to have we need to find more members to replace the people that gone, or if they feel like they are really tired with this club, or what is actually the problem. That's the things that we really need to know and diagnose. And the third one, I think we need to create the spark back. Because if we don't have the purpose in the club, whatever you are trying to do, and you cannot share your dream to the club members, you cannot success. Even 2 years or 3 years, everybody will be in the same. And that's what I always think as a club coach is very hard. You need to lead, but you cannot be in front more than the president. You need to bring the idea. You have your idea, but you cannot show it all more than the president, more than the club. So the balance of the club coach, that's the things that you really need to do. Be balanced, make a relationship with all the people, try to find what is the real source of the problem, and create a little bit of spark.
Yes, Lisa, I agree with you. We, as a coach, we cannot outshine any of the Exco members or even the club's members. Though we are deemed an expert, because one of the requirements is you must be an experienced Toastmaster to become a coach. And you must be a non-member, ideally do not know the club at all, right? So that you bring a fresh perspective. At the same time, you have to handle it like hot bricks because there's so many other softer issues involved. You cannot afford to stand on the wrong toes, cannot afford to make anyone feel small. You're lording over them. You have to be seen as their friend. So it's a very delicate balance. That's why sometimes this analysis period, just like a marriage, takes time to settle in until they buy you and they're confident with you. Then you go deeper and deeper. Thanks, Lisa, for your point. Distinguished Toastmaster Silva, you have anything to add on?
Yes, there are several things that club coach should focus on. Definitely, like first I mentioned about the relationship with the members. Eliza mentioning to give the spark also. That's actually very correct, Raven. If I could add, I will also focus on the learning for the members. So make sure that we fulfill the needs. We need to know what the needs of them, because not everyone joined Toastmasters to be able to be a great public speaker or even the world champion, and some probably come to the Toastmasters, join Toastmasters to build network, just like what I did 18 years ago. Or some actually would like to taste the leadership role and that they never had before in previous organizations or corporates that they're joining. So we need to know of definitely the needs of the members. If we could fulfill, if we already find out the needs, then we offer how we support you. If you would like to take the leadership role so that we can offer them to be the club officers in the next term, for instance, or if you would like to be the world champion, like first say, probably we could support them to join the speech contest in club level. Having said that, we need to conduct the club contest for the club that we are coaching. So I would like to focus on also on the learning for the members, that make sure we know their needs and how we could help or offer some solutions and support for them.
Thank you, Regional Advisor Silva, for sharing your points. Yes, this fit for a club coach to the particular club is very important right from the beginning. And it takes some time to establish that fit because we must understand, end of the day, the club's president has the right to revoke your club coach status by informing Toastmasters International, we do want to work with this guy. That's it. That's all it takes. Likewise, the coach also had the prerogative to say, sorry guys, I'm not the right person for your club. Get somebody else, maybe First or Silva or Eliza. I'm not the one. It can work both ways because, look, we can click with some people. We can't click with some people. That's a fact, yeah? Call it chemistry or whatever. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So very tricky situation. That's why being a club coach is very challenging, but yet end of the day, rewarding. Now, moving on to the next question. still on the sizzle. How does the coach build trust and credibility with the club's exco and members, especially if they are resistant to change? Resistant to change. This is a big ticket item. They just don't want to change. How do you handle this? Open it to any one of you.
Actually, I want to create some joke about this. It is just like to introduce biryani to a Chinese. Yeah, like people in Chinese, the food of the Chinese people is more healthy, bland. They don't put any masala, right? They don't put any ingredients. But India have a lot of ingredients. And you as a club coach, it's just like tell everyone the biryani is so nice. You need to try. And they said, no. I'm not going to do that. So that's how you need to tell them step by step. This ingredient not only the good things about what is a biryani, what actually you can get. Inside they have like a gingers, everything, which is good for your health. And slowly ask them to try. You cannot just force them, try. It cannot be happen. So if the club, so this is the first time when I was a club coach, I need to control myself because I'm a person with a lot of energy, while my club is like waiting the time to close. So even the president is just like, I'm waiting for the dead angel to take me or something like that. But I need to tell him that, hey, come on, wake up. We still have something that we can be done. We can do something. So we are trying to invite step by step, showing a little bit of hope to the club. When you get their trust, and how to get their trust is by telling them that whatever happened, you will be there for them. And during the club coach time, I really lost my sleep time. Because I not only talk about the club, but I also talk about the private life of some of the members, the exco. Because I need to be their friends to understand what is actually, oh, Eliza, I cannot make the poster because I have kids, 2-year-old kids that I cannot make the poster. So everything we need to learn. The president, I don't have time and so on. So that's the things. Get to know, build up a friendship. Then you will introduce the biryani. What is the good things to everyone?
Silva, maybe, Percy has got his hand up. Percy, go ahead, sir.
This is going to sound incredibly cold-hearted and cruel, but my answer is adapt or die. I know that sounds cold, but it's not like we're talking about clubs that went from 20 members to 15 members. We're talking by the time a club coach is being assigned, right? We're talking about being assigned. Now we've gone from 20 members to 5. And that may have taken a couple of years, and they kind of forgot that we used to have 20 members, and now we're at 5 or 4 or 3. Adapt or die. You got comfortable doing X, Y, and Z, but the problem is X, Y, and Z is what's killing you. You've got to stop that. People have changed. We don't think they have, but people have changed. The times have changed. The technology has changed, which has forced behaviors to change. You must adapt. Otherwise, you're going to be like newspapers. Remember when newspapers was everything? Now it's a curiosity. You still see some, but it's nowhere near what it used to be. So adapt or die. You must be able to identify some habits and say, you guys are still doing this habit and you have to stop it. Because today's audience does not want to put up with that. You started doing this 15 years ago. Those people who joined your club 15 years ago are now of a certain age. The people who you're trying to attract are at this age. That's a different generation. And they need different things from your club. Adapt or you're going to die. you're not going to be able to sustain it. Not just sustain growth, sustain it at all. What are you going to do? You know, so that's a harsh reality. But when you were talking about how do you get people to change their mind? Well, you're going to try everything. You're going to try a lot of different things, provide the data, provide alternatives, provide a list of clubs that we should all visit, urge them to visit other clubs. There are so many that are now online. You can see them very cheaply. Go visit a club, even if it's not near you. And then go visit other clubs near you if you're an in-person club. Bring in guest speakers. Show strategies that successful clubs have employed, whether that's in PR or whether that's maybe even in scheduling speakers. Well, we feel comfortable scheduling speakers for next week. Yeah, but you know, there are some very successful clubs and they schedule speakers 3 weeks, 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out. Then people know, right? Then people know. So you got to change your habits. You have to adapt or you're going to die.
Thank you.
Yes, Robin. I'm going to add one more element into the mix. Vision. Sometimes what's going to convince people to change is, are we all agreed on what the vision is? And maybe the club started as a community club open to everyone, but maybe now you need to focus on it being a hybrid club or it focusing on a particular sector of the population and say, maybe we can focus on this or that because they've just moved in. Maybe the neighborhood has changed. So we will need to be very specific about what's the vision. I think a lot of times we generalize vision of what success looks like. Or maybe we're looking at data and we're looking at numbers and we're saying, well, the vision is to accomplish this many speeches and this many levels. Well, that's good. Nothing wrong with that. But if that's the only thing you're looking at, then you've kind of lost track of some information that may help feed that spark. And so what's the vision for this club going forward? Because sometimes you're going to have to realize that your target has moved. And if the target has moved, then you've got to move with it or reinvent yourself. But you may not be able to go back to being the club that you were 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, or even 5. COVID hit, and now all of a sudden, right, we lost all these experienced people. Now all of a sudden, that's okay. You don't have to try to be the club you were. What's the vision moving forward?
I've been very privileged to be able to enlist the time of 3 distinguished panelists this afternoon, sharing with me their expert knowledge, which comes in very handy on a very complex subject as club coaching. Of course, they started off by covering fundamentals of what's the difference between a club coach and a mentor. What's the reason clubs end up needing club coach? Then we went deeper about the club's culture or spirit. How do you revive it after stagnation? That's a little complex. And then what are 3 things you recommend for a club coach to do, what he should focus on, the skill sets that he needs to have. We also talked about what's the greatest challenge that a coach may face. And we talked about whether leaders are coaches and whether coaches are leaders. So we covered a lot, plus, of course, with the questions raised by the members of the floor. Thank you for that. So I'd like to end my session of this panel discussion with a quote from Maya Angelou. She said, "When you learn, teach. When you get, give." I like to add to this, when you know, coach.